My name is Lee Havcost. I have been working in different roles in the human service field in Bremerton since 2021. I'm currently pursuing my bachelor's degree in behavioral health along with my substance use disorder professional education, both of which I expect to complete in 2027. I am 57 years old and married to my second husband for 15 years. He is a terrific stepdad to my 4 grown children, all of whom were born here in Bremerton. Because it is their home, it is my home, and I have lived here for 31 years, although I was raised in North Carolina, where my ancestors settled after emigrating from Scotland and Ireland during the Highland potato famine in the 19th century. I wrote this introduction after reading a section in our text about using cultural self-disclosure to enhance the counseling relationship. My role in my current agency is only loosely defined, so this quarter's coursework has helped me add structure to my work time with clients. My style tends toward the casual, so it has been helpful to have a little bit of a script to follow on first meetings, and it seems to help relieve some pressure for the clients as well. One lesson I have learned is the tool of ethical bracketing, which has helped me navigate encounters with a person expressing values that are not merely different from mine, but that I actually find loathsome. Although I have never showed any judgment or disapproval, the course content about values and position has helped me see how I was asserting my own values and trying to ignore his offensive remarks. In our journal for week 3, I wrote about being inspired by our class discussion to change my approach with this difficult client who openly expresses racist attitudes. The result was that I became able to identify my own subtle values and positions. That experience has afforded me greater familiarity with what it feels like to consciously attend to my own mindset in real time in the counseling context. Whether or not his views are socially acceptable is not a question for our time together unless they interfere with his stated goals. Even then, it would not be for me to correct them, but merely to invite him to reconsider and to model a different way of being. As with every other change that we work to support as counselors, the endeavor to change must begin and end with the client. This confounded me for a while because of the expectation explicit throughout our course content that people working in human services confront and challenge such prejudiced views. But a related lesson I have learned is that the context of individual counseling is not the place for such a confrontation. Rather, because the work we do together is rooted in our relationship, it is in the context of the relationship that the potential for change in his worldview can arise. So, ethical bracketing enables me to set aside my own identity to make room for the client as a whole person. Because I have a well-established mindfulness practice, I plan to schedule into my days a 5-minute window before each client to reset my own consciousness so I can engage without the interference of my ego. I like to think of this as a kind of professional boundary. It's just an internal boundary between my whole self and my helper self. On the subject of boundaries, the ethical issue that has most evolved for me this quarter is that of managing boundaries. A large part of my motivation for entering this vocation has been that I keenly feel the need to contribute to a resilient community. I have harbored resistance to the idea of human service workers at all because I have imagined a world in which humans just take care of each other. A different perspective I have now taken is that human service workers are still members of a community. They just happen to be in the role of helper, like someone is the local dentist or the sheriff or the school principal or even the town drunk. Everyone has their role. I have had ample opportunity to check my motives at work. Although I am clear about having chosen human services as the remainder of my life's work, I have become able to recognize when I am driven by my needs rather than the client's. For example, I have noticed my bias toward clients with whom I feel effective rather than those who seem to be stuck in an endless cycle of struggle with the same problems. I may spend equal amounts of time with each, but my feelings inside differ. I have worked to observe how the energy of an interaction changes depending on what I'm bringing to the party. Is an engagement easier and more convivial because of my delight, or conversely, tedious and bland because I'm arriving with ennui in my heart? I do not mean that I must be entertained by my workday, but the general energy of a mood is like a third person in any encounter. Having observed this, my plan is to establish some kind of small ice-breaking activity or conversation at the beginning of each client encounter to give us both the opportunity to set a mood. I have written regularly about the value of concurrent learning and work, and ethics has been an ideal grist for that meal because the concepts discussed in the course have been made vivid by client interactions. See you next quarter.